Hello, everyone. Abigail Posner here with Tom Maschio. We are conducting yet another episode of our Anthro and AI series. This time, we are at a pub on the Upper West Side drinking hot toddies and beer. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the creative potential of AI. There are a lot of folks, I think, who are demoralized by AI and they think it's going to take over the creative process because they're seeing videos made and images created and music conducted. And that's more execution. What we're talking about is the actual creative process and how AI can actually really help us deepen that process and enhance that process when used correctly. Now, interestingly enough, before we dive in, let's remember that throughout history, the creative process has undergone many changes thanks to science and technology and new ways of perceiving the world. And in fact, during the Renaissance, there was a huge shift in how art was perceived and conducted, and there was a whole moral quality to it. So, Tom, can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so of course the Renaissance is often said to be an historical example of really these great creative leaps and human imagination, but also in the way that I think it was a great leap in emotional experience, the ability to experience emotions which were depicted in especially artistic expression. The real creative engine of Renaissance in Italy, the 14th and 15th century, was painting. And in painting at the time, the new technique developed, which was the application of point by point scientific perspective. Um, and as that technique was developed by painters continually over time, over the course of a century, um, both theologians and artists themselves could see a kind of moral dimension to this technological development in the sense that,
Both good and bad, right?
let's talk about the good first. Theologians said that this new technique and these new styles of painting gave us greater insight into, quote, God's creation. We could see the physical world in greater detail and understand the greatness and grandeur of God's creation, which is the world and the universe. And also, people thought that they could see the depiction of emotions and visually. The visual cues that Renaissance painting gave to people enabled them to experience religious and moral emotions more intensely than previously, um, in terms of the emotions they expressed or uh, experienced in medieval art. So there was this both kind of greater understanding of and more dramatic expression of emotionalism and emotions, religious emotions, moral emotions, and also a greater accuracy in the depiction of the physical world, which had a moral dimension to people. Now, the negative point of this, according to some critics, was that the world was being revealed in too much of its sensuous detail, and it somehow was ungodly and immoral in this sense. That there was too much sensuality. The themes of Renaissance art were sometimes not always religious themes. There were depictions of rather passionate events such as warfare and episodes of the Bible that were kind of morally unsavory. There's a greater range of expression all around people were being exposed to.
And it challenged us to do things differently, but we navigated through it. And thanks to it, we became better artists and better creatives in general.